6 powerful reasons you don't need friends after 70. Have you ever noticed how your priorities begin to change as you grow older? The things that once seemed crucial, like keeping a large group of friends, start to lose their importance. And here's the truth. After the age of 70, you don't actually need friends the way you used to. That might sound surprising at first, but when you take a step back, it begins to make sense. Choosing independence and prioritizing your own well-being can be one of the most empowering decisions you'll ever make. In this video, we're going to explore 6 powerful reasons why friendships may no longer be essential in your later years. We'll look at how your mindset, your sense of freedom, and even your health can improve when you stop holding on to friendships that no longer serve a real purpose. This isn't about isolation. It's about reclaiming your time, energy, and peace. Letting go of unnecessary social obligations can be deeply liberating. And by the end of this video, you might just see your later years in a whole new light. Let's dive in. 1. You no longer have anything to prove. One of the most freeing aspects of life after 70 is realizing you don't have to prove yourself to anyone anymore. Think back to earlier stages of life. So many friendships revolved around being accepted, fitting in, or maintaining a certain image. Whether it was impressing colleagues, attending social events, or staying in the loop, there was always this subtle pressure to be liked and validated. But now, that pressure fades away. By this point in life, you've already built your story. You've achieved things, overcome challenges, and lived through experiences that shaped who you are. You no longer need external validation. You know your own worth, and that's enough. Consider someone like Harold, a man in his early 70s. Throughout his career, he was constantly surrounded by coworkers, acquaintances, and so-called friends. But after retirement, most of those connections quickly disappeared. At first, Harold felt compelled to keep those relationships going. But soon, he asked himself, why? Why invest in friendships that only existed out of routine or convenience? Instead of chasing after fading connections, Harold turned inward. He rediscovered hobbies, pursued new interests, and most importantly, let go of the need to impress anyone. Without the burden of shallow friendships, he felt lighter. No more forced conversations, no more social pressure, just peace. And that's the point. You don't need to chase approval anymore. You don't need a circle of friends to define your worth. You define that for yourself now. Asim 2. Peace becomes more valuable than socializing. As you age, something shifts. The value you place on peace and quiet begins to outweigh the desire for constant social interaction. In your younger years, being around people might have felt essential. The buzz of conversation, the pull of community, it all seemed necessary. But now, peace has a different kind of power. You start to appreciate calm mornings, quiet afternoons, and evenings spent in stillness. You realize that peace brings clarity, comfort, and a deeper sense of well-being than most social gatherings ever could. In the past, socializing may have been driven by a fear of missing out. But after 70, that fear fades. You no longer feel the need to be everywhere or stay connected with everyone. You begin to protect your time and energy. Instead of attending events out of obligation, you choose solitude because it brings you closer to yourself. And that's not loneliness, it's freedom. The gatherings, the conversations, they all once felt like a meaningful part of life. But as you grow older, something shifts. You begin to value a different kind of experience. Silence. Not loneliness, but peace. The kind that allows you to breathe freely, without the noise of unnecessary drama, social obligations, or emotional fatigue. Even the best friendships come with a certain amount of responsibility. There are calls to return, invitations to respond to, and the unspoken need to keep in touch. And while that might have once felt rewarding, it can eventually start to feel more draining than fulfilling. It's not that friendships are bad, just that they sometimes become more effort than they're worth. You no longer need to chase anyone's expectations. You don't have to feel guilty for declining an invitation or for not replying immediately to a message. You've earned the right to protect your time, your space, and your peace. Take Margaret, for example. At 74, she used to have a full social calendar, lunches, group chats, holiday parties. But over time, she realized something important. Those interactions weren't giving her energy anymore. They were taking it. Conversations grew repetitive, and some friends became more interested in gossip than genuine connection. So Margaret made a choice. She stopped saying yes out of guilt and started saying no with confidence. She didn't respond to every call or text right away. Instead, she embraced solitude. She took long walks, rediscovered her love for books, and spent quiet mornings in nature. And she found something incredible. Solitude wasn't lonely at all. It was peaceful. That's the beauty of this stage in life. You're not obligated to fill every hour with conversations or plans. You get to enjoy your own company without the pressure of constant validation or performance. You get to choose calm over chaos and peace over pressure. So if you've ever felt bad for pulling back from your social life, remember this: you're not stepping away from life. You're stepping into a more fulfilling chapter. One where your happiness comes from within, not from how many friends you can keep up with. And that kind of peace, it only grows more valuable with age. If you're still watching this, and you've found something here that resonates, type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. Hit that button and ring the bell so you won't miss the rest of this powerful series. Now let's move on. Number 3, fewer friendships mean fewer disappointments. One of life's toughest lessons is realizing that not everyone you call a friend is truly there for you. Over the years, you've likely seen it: people drifting away, connections that fade, and moments where you were left wondering why you were always the one reaching out. By the time you reach your 70s, you begin to understand something crucial. Having fewer friendships doesn't mean you're losing something. It means you're gaining peace of mind. Fewer relationships mean fewer expectations, and fewer expectations mean fewer disappointments. Every friendship carries unspoken rules. Be there when they need you. Pick up the phone. Offer advice. Make time. But what happens when those efforts aren't returned? Disappointment. You reach out, but they don't respond. You check in, but it's never reciprocated. You give, and receive little in return. At this point in your life, ask yourself honestly, do you really need that kind of emotional stress? Take William, for instance. At 78, he had watched friendships evolve, dissolve, and disappear. He noticed a pattern. He was always the one making the effort. People he'd known for decades suddenly became distant, distracted, or uninterested. At first, it hurt. He questioned himself. Was he not doing enough? But then came clarity. It wasn't him. It was the imbalance. The friendships had been one-sided all along, and he had simply stopped tolerating it. He no longer felt the need to chase people who wouldn't meet him halfway. Instead, he focused on the few meaningful relationships that remained, and let go of the rest without bitterness. Because when you stop forcing connections, you create space for what really matters: authenticity, simplicity, and emotional freedom. In your later years, protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's essential. Reason number 4, your time becomes more precious. As you get older, you start to realize something powerful. Time is your most valuable resource. In your younger years, it might have felt like you had all the time in the world. time for friends, social circles, and worries about who was in your life. But by the time you reach 70, your perspective shifts. You begin to see that every hour, every moment is precious. And when you understand the true value of your time, you become more selective about how you spend it. Friendships, as fulfilling as they can be, require time and energy, calls to make, plans to keep, visits to schedule. And while some are worth maintaining, many are just habits, relationships we keep out of obligation, not joy. You have the right to ask yourself, is this how I want to spend my time? Does this friendship add to my happiness? Think about Richard. He's in his early 80s and once had a very active social life. But the long conversations began to feel draining. The dinners and phone calls felt more like chores. One day, during a lunch full of small talk and complaints, he realized something. He didn't want to spend his time like this anymore. So he made a change. He stopped saying yes out of habit. He said no when he didn't feel like going out. He stopped catching up on gossip and started catching up with himself. He read more, walked more, learned more. And most importantly, he enjoyed the peace of his own company. The surprising part, he didn't feel lonely. He felt more fulfilled than ever before, because he was spending his time in ways that mattered to him, not in ways others expected. Reason number 5. True companionship comes from within. There's a myth, we're told, that we need a large circle of friends to be happy. But the truth is, the most important companionship is the one you build with yourself. At 70, you've lived decades. You've grown, failed, evolved, and learned. You know yourself better than anyone else ever could. And that self-awareness brings a beautiful realization. You are enough. We're taught to fear loneliness. We're told to stay social to avoid sadness. But being alone is not the same as being lonely. Some of the happiest older adults are those who've embraced solitude, not as isolation, but as an opportunity for peace, reflection, and self-discovery. Consider Eleanor. She's 76. She once believed she needed to be surrounded by people, always planning, always calling, always filling the day with activity. But over time, she noticed something strange. She was drained. The friendships she kept were based on routine, not true connection. She constantly adjusted herself to fit in. Then she stopped. She started spending time with herself the way she would with a friend, doing things she loved, enjoying her own company. She took long walks. She went to cafes with a book. She spent quiet evenings with her thoughts. And she felt lighter, happier, and more peaceful than ever before. That's the thing. When you truly enjoy your own company, you attract the right people. People who respect your space, who bring calm, not pressure. So if you're afraid of letting go of friendships because you fear being alone, remember this. The best company you'll ever have is already with you. Reason number 6. Letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life, one of the most powerful decisions you can make after 70. Let go. Let go of the pressure to maintain friendships that no longer serve you. Let go of the belief that your worth is tied to your social life. Let go of the fear that being alone means being unfulfilled. Because the moment you release those expectations, you open the door to a simpler, freer, more joyful life. Many people hold on to friendships out of habit. They show up at gatherings they don't enjoy. They answer calls they'd rather avoid. They keep up appearances just because they always have. But what if you didn't have to? What if you gave yourself permission to stop chasing friendships that feel like work and started investing in things that bring you happiness? Take James, for example. He's in his late 70s and used to think being socially active was the secret to aging well. He forced himself to keep in touch with distant friends. He packed his days with calls and meetups. But he didn't feel connected. He felt tired. So he made a choice. He stopped forcing it. He prioritized time in nature. He focused on his health. He explored new hobbies. And he discovered something amazing. He felt lighter, freer, and more alive than ever. That's what happens when you let go. You create space for the life you actually want to live. You appreciate the quiet mornings. You enjoy a hobby without distractions. You finally listen to your own thoughts. So if you're holding on to friendships out of habit, ask yourself, is this truly adding to my happiness? Because once you let go, you'll find life becomes simpler, lighter, and far more fulfilling. Share one thing you learned from this video and how you plan to apply it in your own life. We love hearing your thoughts, and your feedback means the world to us. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a video that inspires you to live your best years on your own terms. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.